Hi everyone, I'm Jean Ritt, and you're watching Southern Charm Realty TV, the place to be to create the real estate experience you can trust and love. In our past shows, we have been talking about finding a house and the process and the beginning stages of house buying. First and foremost was our mortgage process, thanks to Raymond Andrews and Prime Lending. He walked us through the pre-approval process and the different loan programs out there. On another show, we spoke with Barb Obenauer, who is not only a realtor at Southern Charm Realty, but is also a licensed contractor and one of the only women contractors in town. And she helped us with the remodeling process and how to find a diamond in the rough. So today's episode, we are going to jump forward and talk about the steps once you find a house and it's under contract. So what's next? Well, the most important probably step going forward is your home inspection. Our guest today is Corey Poole. Corey is the owner of Home Inspection of Marion County. Corey is a certified master inspector, which I'm going to have him talk about later on, and this is the highest designation given in the home inspection community. Not only does he hold this very esteemed designation, but he is also one of 18 that is a proctor for the state exam for all home inspectors. Corey's not only an avid small business owner, but he's really a family man, and this is a family business. His mom and dad both work with him in the business. We call his mom the candy lady. She does all the marketing. She's fabulous at it. We all drool when we see her pull up because we know we're getting the good candies. And Corey's married and has 2 children. But one of the things I most admire about Corey is his community involvement. And if I went off the list he sent me, oh my gosh, we'd be here all day. But right now, Corey is working as a trustee, a board of trustees for MFMC, which is the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And right now they're going under $150 million expansion and renovation. And we've all seen it going as you drive around town. They've been buying up buildings around them, knocking them down. So we're getting ready to grow Monroe again. Corey was also in the past, he's been the president of the Humane Society, former president of the Ocala County Domestic Violence Center, a former chairman of the College of Central Florida Board of Trustees, which he was appointed to by both Governor Christ and then Governor Scott. So welcome, Corey.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you here today. The home inspection process, people are so confused about. And so I wanted you to come and explain to our audience and our viewers how it really works. So I did a little digging on the home inspection history, and I didn't know this, but it started in the mid-70s out in California. And that before that, guys, there was nothing. People bought houses, you know, on their own instinct, not knowing if anything was wrong with them. So maybe a friend would help them, or, you know, a contractor buddy, that sort of thing. And it wasn't until the late 80s that the state legislation and federal legislation made the onus on the seller to disclose any defects of a house. So how did you get into the home inspection business?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because my dad was actually one of those people who inspected houses before the Department of Business and Professional Regulation even started regulating home inspectors.
Wow.
Right about 2010, the state decided that, you know, these people needed to have an education, they needed to be background checked, they needed to have fingerprints, and so that's really when home inspections started to become regulated by the state of Florida.
Well, because before that, anybody could say, I'm a home inspector.
Absolutely. Anybody could throw something on their truck and show up at your house and perform the home inspection, having no knowledge maybe of anything.
Right.
And so you had a lot of that. Now, a lot of the people who had been doing it for years were grandfathered in, but they did. Any new inspectors have to take the state's 120-hour approved course. They have to go through the home inspector exam, and again, I think most importantly, you know, get that background check, get those fingerprints. I mean, we are going into people's houses. We have access to the Supra, so it's just important that I think that they're vetted properly.
Oh, I agree. Because again, you know, we can't always be there.
Right.
through the inspection, and neither can the seller or the buyer. So we are trusting that the professionals that we are using truly are professionals. So I appreciate that. Can you explain the process in detail? You're so good at this kind of stuff. So, walk it through. Okay, I get my customer under contract.
Right.
Everything's negotiated. They're so excited. But we really have 3 big hurdles to get through till we get to closing. The first one being the home inspection, the second one being the appraisal, and the third one being the loan being approved by the bank and getting our clear to close. So you're very important in that process. I don't think everybody understands. I think they expect more or less than what you actually do. So if you could explain that to our viewers.
Absolutely. I think with a home inspection, there's the misconception, and especially among realtors, that this is going to be a negative thing. In fact,
Right.
I've had people, first-time home buyers, say, I was up all night last night concerned
about it.
or I've had realtors tell me, oh my gosh, I came over here with a sense of dread. And I think in the past that has been what I call the hysterical home inspector, where a crack on a wall all of a sudden becomes a sinkhole. Or
Exactly, especially in our...
Yes, especially in our area where that's
yes.
just normal.
It is.
And so I think home inspection has evolved over the years, and you've got a willing buyer and a willing seller. The home inspector, and I always tell my customers this: look, although your realtor probably gave you my name, I work for you. My
Right.
job is to give you an unbiased opinion of the property. But I think when you give that unbiased opinion, if you've got concerns, you also need to point out the positive. And that's one of the things
Exactly.
we've tried to do is again, we are there to look for issues, but we're also there to point out good things. Did you know your air conditioning is a 2015? Did you know you just had a roof put on in 2012? So those are important things to do, as well as pointing out the issues. And when you talk about the issues, the 4 major points of a home inspection are your largest expenditures: the roof,
Yes.
the plumbing, the HVAC, and the electrical.
So all your mechanicals.
All your mechanicals, and those are the things that we focus on mainly. Now, having said that, our reports, some inspectors have 50-page reports. Ours is a 20-page report. We tried to get it very concise, very legible, with a summary page that doesn't put you to sleep. But at the end of the day, and with recommendations as well, because I think the misconception is when you buy a home, everything's going to be perfect.
No, I've been doing this 20 years, and you've done a lot of home inspections for me. And Corey, have we ever run into the perfect house?
No, and you never will.
You never will.
And we do a lot of new home construction inspections for people who just want us to be there as their second set of eyes.
Right.
And that's when you find, actually, I have found more issues on brand new homes than I have on homes that are 2010 or 12. And I think people, when you're buying a car and you buy a used car, you don't mind a nick or a scratch or a ding. You don't think
Right.
anything of it.
Right.
When you buy a house, all of a sudden you have a different perspective that everything should be perfect.
Well, this is the largest purchase
It is.
that they'll ever make. And it's an emotional purchase, and we've talked about that on the show. And you can't help it. This is where you're laying your head, you're raising your children, you're retiring, and it's more than just a house. It is a home. So
it is, and that's why as far as our responsibility to the client and to the realtor, it's to point out issues that we feel may be unsatisfactory in some conditions. If you've got double lugging, which is 2 wires going to 1 breaker at the electrical panel, which is
Not
very
good.
very very common. If you've got roof issues, if you have leaks in the sheathing, obviously we're all over the house. We're up on the roof, we're in the attic, we're checking electrical panels, we're checking underneath shutoff valves,
plumbing, yes,
things like that. But I think what happens is, over time you start to see that most of the houses are going to have the same issues,
Right.
and most of them, to be honest with you, are cosmetic and or general maintenance.
Right.
So I think, back to your original question, the misconception is that everything should be working at 100%.
Correct.
But if you came to my house today, you would find a gap at the front door. It's been there for a year, and you know what? I just haven't had time to fix it. But I put in every inspection report: gap at bottom of front door. You need additional weather stripping.
I have that floor, between my tile and my wood floor, that piece.
Yeah, the transition strip.
Yeah,
is,
the
yes,
transition
absolutely.
strip. It popped out 5 days after I put everything in, and it's been 2 years sitting there. So
absolutely, it
totally
is.
Get
And,
it.
you know, the plumber's plumbing doesn't work, and the doctor's kids are sick. But I think at the end of the day, those are what we consider general maintenance items. Those are items that, you know, as the house progresses and ages, you're going to have these issues. I think one of the biggest issues that we have here in Florida, to go back to our previous conversation, are cracks.
Yes.
And people are so concerned about cracks. And
the media has not helped us with that.
well, they haven't, and neither have the, I'm not going to mention any names, but the billboards on the side of the road stating you need to call them if you have a problem. But, you know, the Florida soil is constantly shifting and moving. And anytime we've asked for further investigation by a geotech company, or geotechnical company, 99% of the time,
come back at settlement.
It's settlement. And settlement is normal.
It's very normal.
And I always tell people, one of the things is you want your home to settle. You know, a home should be a dynamic system. You know, dynamic as in it should move. I mean, when the wind blows, you want your truss system to be able to move. Exactly. And if it was a rigid structure, the whole thing would collapse on top of itself. So when you have that constant moving of the soil and the shifting, you'll start to see the cracks. They're commonly referred to as step cracks because they're actually following the block. And you know, one good rule of thumb is that, you know, as long as you can rub your hand over the block and you're not running into what would be called differential settling, it's just normal. The other thing you can do is you can actually take a screwdriver and you can tap around it and you can see where the stucco hasn't been applied properly.
And that's what we see a lot of those stair cracks because it's lesser quality stucco.
It is, yes.
And so you can see any movement. I'm a big geek about this stuff. Bobby Harden's on speed dial, who he owns one of the mediation companies that come in and fix it. And Bobby was a great friend of my dad's. He's a fifth generation Ocalian. He was the very first guy to get into this before it was actually a designated kind of construction. It was just all part of construction. So when I have a question or you bring up a question, my first call is to Bobby. He comes by, he looks at it, and he can tell us, yeah, that's normal settling. You know, or no, you need to have this tested. So, but you're right, it's 90%.
It is. You know? It is. And the other thing is people they get worried about cracks in tile. And again, I'd say 95%. If you take a screwdriver and you tap around the tile where the crack is, you're going to come across that one tile that doesn't have the thin set underneath it, and that's what's causing the cracking. Very little cracking on tile is actually caused by foundation shifting. It's mainly because when they laid it, they didn't put the thin set down, and that's to the same point, the stucco. They didn't make it thick enough. So you have these issues that you have to fight with because a lot of times people are
it's a preconception.
It is.
You know, people come to Florida and they want a block house because of termites and hurricanes.
Yes.
Well, we have one of the oldest historic districts in Florida. It's over 200 years old. Guess what? It's all wood. So as a home inspector, I'm sure you run across this, but you know, I don't want a wood frame house. But the wood frame houses are as strong, if not stronger. They move better with the earth. And when you have block on block, you're going to see cracks where you're not going to see them in a wood structure. And it's all natural movement. It
is, and you know, and I always tell people that, you know, the three biggest issues that people have, especially moving from, you know, different parts of the country, are earthquakes, termites, and sinkholes, hurricanes, and termites.
I just got back from California.
I know. I was going to say I remember that. So yeah, you're very familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I think you know, to the point of termites, even termites are there's this misconception. You know, termites move very, very slowly, and the treatments have become so effective right now, and really very, very, very inexpensive.
Yes.
You know, back in the day when you said you had termites, all of a sudden,
like, oh my God, $10,000.
Absolutely, there's going to be a tent. We're going to be out of our house for. I mean, now they drill every 6 inches. In fact, I'm actually taking my. I have the license now to inspect for termites. I'm taking the test to actually become a licensed pest control company. But there's that misconception that, oh my gosh, I have termites. But that really, to be honest with you, is one of the least of my concerns during a home inspection.
As a home inspector. And here's the thing, termites eat what is inside a block house. It's all wood.
Exactly.
So termites are not, you know, they don't go, oh, we're going to move over here to the wood house because it's a concrete house. They'll eat wherever they can get.
But there is that preconceived notion of,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I've got the termites,
Yes.
and again, going back to the everything being covered and the disasters that occur, and that's just not the case anymore. And as far as sinkholes, I have to tell you, I have never seen during an inspection a home that has had sinkhole issues. Now we did, just because we wanted to be more educated,
Right.
actually go through a house that the insurance company had declared a total loss
Right.
because of sinkhole damage.
Right.
The gentleman still lived in the home. He was in his 80s, and he's like, look, if it takes me, I'm ready to go. But he let us inspect his house, and so we were able to see what happens when a house is on an active sinkhole. And it was
It's pretty cool looking, isn't it?
It's fascinating because fascinating and scary. As we're going through the house, baseboards are popping, and you're up in the attic, and you can see where the truss system has actually moved. And so where doors are not shutting because they're not plumb.
Yes.
I mean, there are very, very, very obvious signs when you come to a house with a sinkhole.
That is a slow-moving thing.
Exactly.
Everybody goes back to the Tampa story where the gentleman was swallowed up in the sinkhole.
Right.
That did not happen overnight, people. That happened over years, and they knew something was wrong with the house, didn't do anything about it, and ended up at the bottom of the hole. So, when NBC and ABC and all those guys picked up that story and sensationalized it, I was like, wow, we're going to take a little hit around here.
We do, and anytime we see those stories, we know that for the next month or two, the first question they're going to ask about that little step crack is, oh my gosh, it's on a sinkhole.
Exactly.
And I think the media does kind of, cause those issues. But having said that, back to the home inspection, our job is to identify visual items that are not consistent with the home of that age. And, a lot of the issues, as you know.
I like the way you said that. Okay, I have to remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I always say that because when people ask me, well, what do you think about this house? I say, well, it's the items that I've noted are items that are consistent with the home of this age. And as you know, the biggest problem, and I guess I can summarize my entire summer of last year in one word: roof.
Yeah.
And that is
Hurricane.
the biggest issue with, as you know, being a broker, with your transactions. The insurance companies have really clamped down,
Tightened up.
and they want to have at least 5 years of life on the roof. And I speak with a forked tongue because I also do work for some of the insurance companies, whether it be a 4-point or a wind mitigation.
Right. Yeah, and when you get done, I was going to ask you about that because that's an add-on that we can, discuss.
It is, but the roof is really obviously it's the most expensive part of the home, and it just in Florida, you've got different types of roof, whether it be the architectural shingles or the 3-tab or the metal, which is my preferred because we'll all be dead by the time the metal roof has an issue.
Right.
But to kind of back up, in Florida, I think there's a misconception about the wind mitigation inspection. Well, first of all, there's a misconception.
Yeah, explain that. Because
There's a misconception about it, but there's also just a general ignorance about it. And what it is in March of 2002, the insurance industry went to the legislature and said that we have got to harden these homes because of the premiums the claims that we're paying out. And so basically what happened was they redid the building code. And so March 1st of 2002, the Florida Building Code was redone to reduce what's called uplift in homes. And basically when the wind is coming at 70 or 80 miles an hour, on a hip home, you have 40% less updraft than you do on a gable. And so any home built after March 1st of 2002 automatically qualifies for that wind mitigation credit. Depends on the square footage of the house. There are a lot of factors that are, put into play when they determine the discount, but your insurance agent can tell you how much the discount is going to be.
Right.
And the good news is it's good for 5 years.
it is, and it is a significant
It can be
discount.
significant.
So that is one that you really want to add on.
You do.
Because the cost outweighs, or the cost to do it is well worth the savings you get in the insurance.
It is. And I always tell people we charge $75 for it. That's normally the case in the inspection industry. But I've always tell people, if you don't save $75 over 4 years, call me back. I'll cut you a check. I've never had that happen. I will tell you, and again, it's based on square footage, so don't take this to the bank. But the largest savings I've seen is $380 a year.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's huge.
It is huge.
Especially when that's all escrowed into mortgage payment.
Absolutely.
That's a great savings. And then so houses over 30 years old.
Yes.
insurance is kind of beaten up on us, and there's some of the best built houses there are, and we don't see a lot of problems as long as they've been maintained and taken care of. But a way to help your insurance that way is they've pretty much mandated it now, is a 4-point. And what exactly is the 4-point?
The 4-point is really the insurance company looking at the 4 major systems. And a lot of people are offended by their insurance company asking for a 4-point.
Yes.
But let's face it, they're insuring, this huge piece of property. They want to know that the 4 points. The 4 points come from the roof, the electrical, the HVAC, and the plumbing. So the 4-point is really kind of a Reader's Digest
of your inspection.
Of the inspection. And so it's a snapshot of those 4 major systems. And the insurance companies are looking for the age of the water heater.
Right.
They're looking to make sure that none of the panels, the electrical panels, are panels that are uninsurable.
Right.
They're checking to make sure that the roof, has at least 5 years of life.
Exactly.
And of course, make sure there are no leaks, make sure there are shut-off valves, just things that, if you were in their shoes, you would want to make sure were working and functional. So that's really the purpose of a 4-point, is to give the insurance company
that peace of mind.
Absolutely, the peace of mind. And it also does help your premium, because obviously if you have a new AC,
discount.
a new roof, a new hot water heater, they're going to reduce the premium.
And that's, again, brings me to a point. Folks, when you get your home inspection, you paid for it. It's proprietary. It belongs to you, not the insurance company, not the lenders, and definitely not anybody that you don't want to share it with. So doing the 4-point is the great, or the wind mitigation is a great way to share with the insurance company what your home is about and the discounts that can be applied to it. So I want to move on real quick, because they're all bugging us, and I'm having fun, so I'm not leaving, y'all, just to let you know. And I won't leave you guys, because this is a great conversation. Your designation.
Right.
And those are new, aren't they?
They are. They're relatively new. The home inspection industry has, as with any organization, it is evolving, and you're starting to see a lot more professionalism, not only in our reports but in our reporting systems. And what it is that designation is the certified master inspector, and you've got your home inspector, you've got certified professional inspector, and then you have certified master inspector.
So kind of like our, in the real estate industry, you're,
Yes.
A sales rep or realtor.
Right.
You can get a GRI, which is a Graduate Realtor Institute, which is a fabulous, incredible designation, and then you can go to the broker. And I am a freak about education, because we can bring things back to our customers to help them be smarter in the process. So I love that you guys are starting to do this now.
And that's part of the reason is, as the construction industry moves forward and as new products are brought out and so forth, we want to be on the cutting edge. We want to have that education. We want to be able to have your, I always say, when you give us your customers, we have them on loan.
Right.
And so we take them during that time, give them the information they need, and then give them back to you. We want them to be with the people who have the most education,
Yes.
who have the best insight, and who are going to give them a candid, unbiased opinion without, again, being that hysterical. Because it's very easy, especially with new home buyers.
Yes, you can flip a switch on them so easy.
They're nervous
about everything.
Every single thing.
Yes.
And so part of the home inspector's job, to be honest with you, is to calm the buyer down when they see an issue, and to explain it in a manner that is, succinct,
Yes.
but yet, again, not hysterical. And to say, look, this is something that I see all the time. Double lugging. I mean, double lugging, again, I go back to that because that's at 2 wires going to 1 breaker. It can cause your breaker box to overheat.
Yes, it can.
But there's 2 ways to present that. One is, oh my gosh, your breaker box is going to overheat. Your whole house could catch on fire. Or, this is double lugging. The breakers are not hot right now. Would recommend you get a double lug breaker or hook it to a single lug breaker.
Yeah.
And this is something we see all the time. And
it's hard for us. Good realtors, we're a bit of control freaks, and it's all about the customer service and helping them through the journey. Our job is really facilitators, and facilitators are problem solvers. So as a realtor, when we hand them over to you guys or the appraisal or the finance people, it makes us nervous.
Absolutely.
It makes us nervous, and that's it. You are so brilliant with the customer, because even if the house isn't the things wrong with the house, the people aren't upset and they feel comfortable making their decision. Let's pass on this and move to the next one. And I think it's your manner, again, staying professional. And it really does make a huge difference.
It is, and we have 5 inspectors, and we've tried to, when we do the training, we do a very intensive training to let them know that a lot of this job is actually in the presentation. Of course, you have to have the information, and you have to know what you're talking about.
Right.
But half of it is actually in how you present the facts. And so you just have to be very, very careful to make sure that you're presenting the facts and not getting into your opinion or getting into things that really are outside of your scope of expertise.
Exactly. How many in town of our home inspectors in town have that master certification?
I believe there's only 2. I believe there's
Wow.
only 2 others. I believe there's only 2 others. So it's
that's impressive that you have it.
I think it's
Thank
good.
you for being the professional. Yay!
No, I think it's good because I like you. I like that continued education. InterNACHI, which is our International Association
Right.
of Certified Home Inspectors, is really they're the ones who handle the Master Certification Inspection Board. But
Right.
you know, as with realtors, all home inspectors are not created equal.
No.
You know, you've got differences in education. You've got differences in number of inspections, how they do it. But I think that I guess the main takeaway is. And this always confuses me when someone's buying the largest investment of their life, is that they would pass on a home inspection.
Yeah.
And it's not. I'm not hurt because they don't want to pay the $400 or $500 or $300, whatever the cost of the inspection is. It's just because there are so many things that we can find that if you're buying a $150,000 house, why would you not spend $400 to find out what's going on in that home?
Yeah, and we recommend it.
Absolutely.
Again, it's not state regulated. It may be one day.
Maybe,
but
that is.
But it's not, and so we want, again, to take any of the fear out of the process and helps them move on. So I thank you very much. We are running out of time. I can see everybody looking at us, so I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for inviting me. No, I will. I will. I appreciate your invitation.
This has been a lot of fun. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. There's a couple of shout outs, as always. Jen at the White Elephant. Okay, I have to tell you guys, these chairs are my friggin' favorite of the world. She's had them in the shop a while, but what's so cool about these chairs, I have the history on them. Y'all, it's amazing. I like good design, as everybody in the room can tell you. I get a little crazy over good design. These are authentic, and they were built in 1929. I always thought they were mid-century, but they're actually Art Deco. This woman, who was an Irish artist, her name was Eileen Gray, came up with this design in 1929. They're called Bibidun chairs. Jen has them for sale. Don't buy them because I really want them one day. But anyways, if you're looking for a specific style, Jen can go out and find that for you. So if you're into mid-century, if you're into modern, if you're into country, if you're into French provincial, she can find that stuff for you. So take advantage of her fine hoarding skills and give her a holler. But I gotta tell you, this is my favorite set so far. It's quite groovy. I went a little Mad Men kind of outfit for y'all today. That's how much I dig it. So I want to thank her for that. And I want to thank Schneider's Flowers. As always, they've been providing us the cute little bouquets for our shows. And if you want something very unusual or unique, she's the woman, and they're easy to find. They're right on Silver Springs Boulevard, and we wanted to give them a shout out and thank them for everything. Corey, thank you so much. It's so much fun. I love having you here. So I'm going to sign off and tell everybody, thank you for tuning in today to Southern Charm Realty TV, the place to be to create the real estate experience that you can love and trust. And until next month, have a beautiful month, and remember, call your realtor, call your home inspector once you get that house under contract. We're here for you, and we love the process, and we love what we do. Thanks, everybody.